up? Welcome to Rolling Conversations with James and Sarah. Sarah can't be here tonight, but I am here with Ty. Ty, we just got done finish rolling here at Carlson Gracie Winter Haven, doing some open mat. And if you want, real quick, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Ty Quillen. I lived in Winter Haven for like 6 years. I went to high school here, then I moved away for college and other endeavors, and then I came back in like 2018, and I've been here ever since. And I've been training for, I think, exactly a year. Last Thursday, I looked at the date.
So well, that's
exactly
cool.
A year. Yeah.
So happy anniversary.
Yeah, it was fun. I was sad because I was sick. I was like, oh man, I wasn't able to make it for it.
So you've been training a year now. Yeah. What are your thoughts on jiu-jitsu? Like, all right, first, what made you want to come and try to jiu-jitsu?
I've always wanted to try it.
Yeah.
I got kind of the itch for the grappling sports, if you will, with wrestling as a kid. I did it a little bit when I was like 8, but it didn't quite scratch the itch. Also, the summer camp my parents signed me up for was like way more intense than we realized. It was supposed to be like an introductory course, but it was like, oh, you gotta learn to get it done. It's like, dude, I'm 8. This is way too much for me. Then I got ringworm. My parents like, okay, now you're really done. It's like, we're not doing that.
Old ringworm.
Yeah, it's not safe environments. Like they would like even like deny us water, and it's like, dude, I'm a child. Like that's crazy. That's
crazy.
Yeah, there's no way. And so I sat on that. I always wanted to do it, but like I wasn't able to do that. Then I discovered UFC as a kid. And I watched these skinny guys from South America beat up these guys that look like characters from Dragon Ball Z, and it's like oh yeah, it's ridiculous. And so I've always kind of sat on it. It's like a sport martial I really wanted to try, but I've never had a chance to do it until I lived down here. That's kind of like I've always wanted to try it, but never really gotten a chance to do it until it was local and available.
Cool. So a year into it, white belt. What are your thoughts now that you've been watching it from afar? Kind of, you had a little bit of introduction to wrestling, and then I imagine it sounds like that wasn't the most positive experience, but it didn't. It
didn't deter me away from it. Yeah.
But so, what are your thoughts have been on jiu-jitsu so far?
I mean, I really enjoy it. I really do. I didn't expect it to be as all-encompassing as it is. Like with other sports that I've done, or something even athletic in general, there's been like I'll come to practice like twice a week and I'll pick it up pretty fast. And I tried to do that when I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I realized I'm not picking up as much as I would want. And maybe it's a little bit, I don't catch on as easily, or maybe it's just this is really hard. I think it might be a little bit of both for me. Yeah. Where it's like this is very outside of anything I've ever been comfortable doing. So it's been hard, but like it's very involved, and you have to really dedicate a lot of time to it. And I like that aspect of it. I really enjoy the process of like learning it and trying to catch on, even if I think I'm a very slow learner.
Yeah, I don't think you're. But I'm curious. What do you do? Because you do have an interesting job. And that's going to lead into my next question. But give me a little. Tell us a little bit about what you do for work, because it's kind of cool.
I do voiceover work.
If you can't tell by his voice, his distinguished voice.
I'm getting over a cold, so I've got a little bit of gunk over me. I do voiceover narration for a living. I went to school for theater arts and acting, and I had an agent all throughout my college career, and that helped me get through college and pay for a variety of stuff. And I've done that in a semi-professional way for a long time, and it's only till like the last 3 years has been like a full-time, this is all I do for work kind of thing. And I'm very, very lucky. There's not a lot of actors who are in that position where they can do this only. Like there's a lot of actors who work in restaurant business or jobs where they can work at night because they're auditioning all day. I'm lucky where I don't have to do that right now. I've got a very steady source of clients that I kind of work through, and I get very steady employment. It's like knock on wood, because it's very, very rare.
So you have a creative job. You went to, you said theatric school. So there's a lot of creativity, a lot of, what's the word how do they describe when you're like going back and forth
Yeah, you're like kind of working with someone. There's you can bounce off each other.
Yeah. So like it's a creative thing.
It is.
You know, you got to be quick witted and sharp and all that.
Feel like improvise and stuff like that.
Being new in jiu-jitsu, you've trained with some coaches now, and here at Carlson Gracie Winter Haven, there's a lot of coaches. We're lucky enough here to have 3 schools in our network. I don't even know how many black belts that come in and coach, and it's definitely a village. We have a core
There's some
group.
really good people here. It's really like impressive.
So I'm curious because I know some of our coaches are very methodical and very like detail, like this here and you move this, and then there's other coaches that are like myself. I kind of tend to be a little bit more like fluid and like, hey, this is our movement, this is our objective. Like, what do you feel? Because like you said, you felt like you're a slow learner.
Yeah.
So like, what style do you think helps you not physically pick it up better, but like comprehend like advanced stuff? Well, and pretty much a lot of it's advanced.
Yeah, it's all new to me. Yeah, it's all French. I think I think there's a mix of both.
Yeah.
I appreciate both forms of teaching methods because I think the practical application of it is really valuable, as well as going through it like in a more specific sense. I work really well with words and definitions just because memorizing lines and memorizing parts, if you will, that's what I do. That's very intricate in what I do. So for others, it might be like, oh, I don't need names to identify what something is. But for me, this is all brand new. So like, I need to know that, oh, this is side control, and not just like, oh, I'm on my side and someone's on top of me and they're pinning me down. Like, I need to know what that definition is, because then for me, I can just connect it out from there.
Yeah.
So like naming moves and like naming positions for me is super helpful. Like that is so good for me.
And
personally.
you've taken some of my classes, and I'm horrible. No, it's okay. So I'm like your worst coach. No. I'm like the worst coach for you. So that makes a lot of sense. Why you don't always come to my classes. So
it's always scheduling.
I'll be coaching, and I'll be like, I don't know what this is called, but this is what it is. I'm horrible about that.
But I do like that other aspect that you do really well of, here's the general idea of like, this is the end goal.
Yeah.
And having both of those for me is really nice because I can connect the dots of like, oh, okay, this takedown goes into this, and I can kind of work my way to some kind of submission in some way, or like a more dominant position. And both of them, I can work with both of them. I'm very flexible.
Because there is a huge debate online over the years of like, when you're new, you need to learn like steps. You need to learn jiu-jitsu in the 1, 2, 3. Like, this is guard, you pass guard, Gracie pass, knee slide. This is the arm bar. This is pillars. Arm bar, omoplata, triangle. And then there's the more modern like conceptual drills. Games, role playing, situational type stuff, and whenever I was learning and being coached, it was very like 1, 2, 3, and like I'm a semi-creative person. I think I draw, I paint, and I do this crap, So it's like, but I come from a construction background, to where it's like, I have blueprints, I have plans, this is my material list, this is how I'm going to build this pole, and and we're going to frame it this way, and all that. So like, I kind of see both sides of it, to where it's like, I see the benefits of a beginner, a white belt. I know we have a fundamentals class here, which I think is phenomenal. Every school should have one if you're able to, and if you're starting out in jiu-jitsu,
it's been crazy helpful for me.
Yeah, and what we've noticed real quick is Derek's done a great job with the fundamentals class, and the people that when they kind of progress and migrate to the general class, some of our classes we'll have 30 plus people on the mat, and it's nice as a coach whenever I don't have to say, this is mount, this is guard, hey, nope, this is not a Kimura. It's nice when they come into the general class. I'm not having to teach the basics.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when someone does come in and they're doing like a free trial week, and they do kind of pop into the general class. It's so obvious.
You can
but
see
that,
it really.
but that one person isn't really a big deal. We can get an upper belt to help, or if it's a packed class, I can help or whatever. But like, if you have 20 plus people on the mats and 8 of them are brand new, but years past when we didn't have fundamentals, I'd have to separate the class, and
everything comes to a screeching halt.
Yeah, and it's like, and then it's like you're kind of stalling the advanced guys and stuff. So I kind of wanted to get your take on the fundamental class and then the styles, because now that you've been training for a year, you kind of see the different styles, the 1, 2, 3s, and the fun, and then like the fluid, the more advanced stuff. And from like a beginner perspective, like what are your thoughts on the 2 and the, you know?
I think if open mat in the general classes is where you swing the sword, fundamentals is where you sharpen the blade. I 100%, because as someone who's brand new, I don't know anything. Like, I'm a year in. Some of y'all have been in here for decades. You know what I mean? So
don't call me old.
No. I gotta go. No, but like, it's all new to me. I can see it on YouTube for years. I can look at it or whatever. Experiencing it and getting to do it is bar none, and that's super valuable for me. 100%. And I have to give praise to Derek, because he's been, from day one for me, has been such a great support. He's great for white belts because he has such a good understanding of what we're going through with trying to understand it and just trying to be useful in general classes, you know. I think everybody should go to fundamentals, because I don't care what belt you are, and this is just coming from 1 year in. It really is super valuable for me, and I make sure I don't miss it just because it feels off. I maybe could just go to other general classes, but like, I love that class because I'm like, okay, I can ask Derek specifically, like, because he's been at this a while, you know, this technique and like the technique we're going over, I can see how to do it precisely. Instead of like, well, I'm getting like the general idea of it, I can make it up as I go. Like, I'd rather do it perfectly than kind of just go off on my own idea of how it's supposed to be done.
I think Derek's been training with me for 12, 14 years.
I believe it. He's really good. He's really, really good.
I know he was either a senior in high school or he just graduated.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I don't remember. It's been a long time. But Derek does a great job. And
he's so good.
And, you know, as a kind of like a 10,000 foot view.
No, for sure,
from watching Derek, you know, progress. Like, Derek's always been good at jiu-jitsu. But when he started coaching, and I had the same thing happen to me whenever I first started coaching. It's like you see moves, you do it, and it's like, this move's stupid, it doesn't work. But when you start coaching it and you saying it out loud over and over, and you're like, well, this doesn't make sense. It really should be done.
Oh, interesting.
You know what I mean? So it's like you're learning yourself and you're repeating it. And it's the proof in the pudding of repetition. Because when you're coaching, you're showing something over and over and over again. And then when you're a student, it's like, okay, you're going to do a guard pass. You do it 2 or 3 times. I'll do it 2 or 3 times. All right.
So
now
what do I do now?
But when you're coaching repetitively, you're doing more technique and drills than you ever did in class. So it makes you a better jiu-jitsu practitioner for sure.
Absolutely.
But back to you know, the fundamentals and the teaching and everything. So do you feel you would be as hooked to jiu-jitsu, because you're here quite a bit, you train quite a lot, if there was no fundamentals? If there was no fundamentals and you just jumped into a general
it would be
class,
there's no way. Honest to God, if it wasn't for, I think I credit this to Derek and Andrew. Andrew does a really good job with white belts too, but Derek especially, just because there's automatically, I just feel like we're so lucky to have him in that position, because he's
for the fundamentals.
And like, even because I started out doing the morning classes with him and Jeremy, and those were my main coaches for like the first 3 months that I trained. And if I didn't have them also to see them in like fundamental class and stuff like that, I don't think I would have stuck around. It would have been really hard for me to sink my teeth into it, because when I went on the mat, I remember I came that Monday, I came Tuesday for fundamental class. You actually taught that class because Derek was out. And then It was a great class. It was a good class.
I don't do
we were
well
doing
with
half
white
guard passes. I remember what it was.
Nothing's changed.
That Wednesday, it was a Wednesday morning with Jeremy, and he knew I was brand new, and it was the first time I got to roll. If I hadn't gone even just for those 2 classes of like seeing it, I'd be like, I don't know what I'm doing. Even just like piecemeal it together. For me, I need that. Like this is what an armbar looks like, so that at least I know what to avoid or what to tap to. Like I don't know. I feel safer in my opinion.
Yeah, I got you, and that's what it's about. Is one, the safety of this is the part that people get confused. It is for your safety.
It is. It's for my safety, legitimately.
But selfishly, it's actually for our safety.
Oh, for sure, because new white belts are crazy.
Yeah, the most dangerous belt in jiu-jitsu is the white belt, without a doubt. Like, I've been hurt almost exclusively by white belts or beginners.
I believe it. Yeah.
And
sorry, on behalf of all white belts. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's and it really is for the protection of, and I know I've had some guys come up and ask me to roll, and I feel bad, and I've seen them roll and how they roll, and me being older, and I have some mobility issues, some injuries, and I'm not trying to go to war, I roll for basically exercise, and just because I love it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to smash everybody in class, So it's like, and I've told people no, and there's this one guy, newer guy, and even yourself, like, I think you and I just rolled for the first, actually rolled for the first time, like 2 weeks ago.
Literally, right before 1 year.
Yeah, and it's like, it was nothing against...
It's nothing personal, I totally understand that.
It was nothing
100%.
Against you, but for one, schedules, you either hit...
2 ships passing in the night.
But it's like, I won't roll with a white belt, a new white belt, until I've seen them roll. I know how long they've been here, and the big thing is we do have some people that feel they don't need to come to the fundamentals class, and those I just won't roll with them for a long time. And for you, like, you and I have talked, and you're a good guy, and I've seen you roll, but it was just, like I said, it was 2 ships passing. For probably the last 3 or 4 months, but prior to that, it wouldn't have mattered. I wouldn't have rolled
for sure.
You. And but now, we just rolled for the first time, like legitimately rolled for the first time, like a week or
2 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah, and what was our last round that we rolled?
It was like 30 minutes of rolling.
So it's like, and we rolled for like 30 minutes straight, and I remember you were like, "Hey, we're gonna set the time." I was like, "No."
I was like, "Okay, this is gonna be exhausting."
It's like, it's either gonna be quick or it's gonna be miserable torture. So, and I always like miserable torture. So what do you like? What do you besides like? What do you love about jiu-jitsu?
It feels
like, what's your favorite thing?
Man, that's a tough one. There's a community aspect of this that is, you mentioned exercise. This has been fantastic for my physical health. I came into this about 200, I'm 6 foot-ish, and I'm like a hair over 6 foot. And when I started, I was about 250 pounds. I've lost about like 35 pounds, something like that as a result, like 30-ish. This has been fantastic for my physical health. And this is coming from someone who used to do workouts like twice a day. Oh, wow. And compared to like going to the gym, this is so much more fun. Yeah. Like, even just at that base level, because I would go to the gym and put my headphones in, and I'm in my own world, and I was motivated by not liking how I felt and not liking me. Whereas here, I'm motivated by, okay, well, if I eat better, if I lose a little bit of weight, I'll be able to move better, and I'll be able to do the martial art better. And like, the frame of reference was completely different. It was less about like, oh man, I'm so fat and I don't like myself, to, oh no, this is fun. If I do this, if I change this, then I'll be able to do this better. Like, that aspect of it is like, I love that community aspect where it's like, I need someone else to train with in order to do this, and I can't just do it on my own because you'll make no progress. So that social interaction aspect of it is great for working out, and also it's really, 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 really hard. And I love that challenge of
and there's
trying to get better
nothing like doing hard things. You
And
know?
I'm right there with you. I love getting down and really trying to figure something out and proving to myself that yes, I can do it. Even if I'm afraid of doing it, I could still do it. Because I'm not very good at a lot of things, and I'm a slow learner in this. But I think for me, with where I'm at, I feel like I'm one of the hardest working persons in the room, whatever room that is, even if I'm not that good.
Yeah,
it's like,
you're definitely you're a tough role for sure.
Thank you.
So for me, I've been doing this a long time, and I go through waves of like, you know what, just I'm over it, you know, and I've been burnt out,
fair.
You know, but. And I wish Sarah was here because she'll tell you, like, you know, if I'm hurt, like I getting old and you fall down, you know, and I sprained my knee actually, and I had to take a few weeks off, and I get really aggressive. I don't mean like aggressive, go fight, but like I get like really grumpy and like crotchety, and it's like. Sarah can tell whenever I don't go to the gym for a while, and it's like there's nothing like choking somebody. Like, you know, it's just
it's
like
a physical exertion.
Yeah, but like, and it's not that I enjoy. I do like choking people, but for me, honestly, I like being just ground into the mat because like tonight I got my ass kicked. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like the guys here tonight, like Chris. I don't even remember Chris, Blake, you, Mike. I don't remember the other guy's name. Jonas. And then there was, I don't remember everybody's name that was here.
I think you hit almost everybody.
Yeah, and I got rounds in with everybody, and then I got a couple rounds in with Chris and Blake, and it's like
those two alone will be.
Yeah, and it's like, but for me, I don't wake up and I don't feel alive until, you know, Chris is 6'5". 220 I think he said.
Yeah, I believe it.
And he's been like lifting and everything, so it's like he's solid.
Yeah.
And he's good.
Yeah.
So it's like when he's just like grinding me and like, you know, fucking buggy choking and he's so long, and it's like I feel like there's just 8 limbs, you know, he's like an octopus, and then you roll with Blake, who's like a honey badger. It's like you can't get away from him.
Small, compressed.
And then if he gets on top of you, and it's like even you, like you get on top of me and you grind, like I feel alive. Like that's whenever I wake up, and it's like, you know, that's whenever I feel alive, and that's whenever I'm like, oh yeah, come on, give me everything you got, punish me. And I know I can take it. I know, like, obviously, I'm not going to get my arm broke or you know, like that. Like, yeah, but like the pressure, the grind, the position, like try and choke me, squeeze all you want. Yeah. Like I'm gonna get to the point of passing out if I can't escape, and then I'll tap. You know, it's like, again, I'm not, you know, let's be real, I'm not that psychotic.
No,
but like,
but
that grind, that pressure, it's like, okay, give me everything you got. If I get out of here, it's my turn.
Oh yeah.
Then that's whenever I start going. That's whenever I start waking up, and I love that. Like if I come in, if I were to, and I did it years back whenever I was younger and healthier, and of course, when it's your place and you know you're the coach, and it's like I can. You can tell you're a pro.
Trying to make sure. Am I a pro? I think so. Yeah.
But like you know, you're always new people, and it's like. You know, coming in here and smashing everybody and keeping everybody below you. It's like there's no fun in that, you know. And it's like I don't get off on that kind of stuff. And I've seen gyms like that where it's like
I don't feel like we have that here. I haven't really run into that. No, it feels like a really well curated group of people.
And like for myself, I don't get any greater feeling than when one of my students start kicking my ass.
For sure.
And the first time it happened, it was Kenny Moss. I don't know if you know Kenny.
I think I've met him briefly.
Kenny's been like a brown belt for like 10 years. And he's been training with me since like 2005 or something.
Okay.
Pro fighter, Bellator,
wow. Okay.
Strike Force, all that stuff. And I remember, and then I was younger too. This is pre like neck, shoulder, knee surgery, bicep surgery. Gosh. So like, and when he first started catching me, and submitting me, at first there was a little humble pie. Like, it was like,
Sure.
man, you know, I have good guys and I'm teaching them everything I know, but I was always able to stay a step ahead. Kenny was the first one to do that.
Like catch up.
And it's like, and at first I remember my ego was a little bruised, but then I was like, wait a minute. The only reason he's doing that is because I'm sharing my knowledge, I'm teaching him, and I'm putting in the work, and I'm giving him everything I got.
Yeah.
So it actually started making me a little bit better. And then, you know, over the years, you know, I slumped down and injuries and everything. And then, you know, whenever I'm training healthy, and then it starts happening again. And it's like you get another student and they start kicking your ass. You know, now I don't even know. Like, I look for like new white belts that I'm new white and blue belts that I'm willing to roll with, so I can beat them up. So I at least get some submissions. You know, now it's like, you know, we got purple belts that are murderers that just come in here. It's like Saul, and then you got obviously like Jake, you know, just murders people. Chris, Blake, you know, Fred. Derek and Fred, and like all these. There's so many to name. Even Jay that just
he was just here for a second.
Yeah, Jay's getting good.
He's getting good as well. Absolutely, he's really good.
And like, there's no greater feeling as a coach for me personally, and I know for a fact all of the coaches in this network, and pretty much most of the coaches that have mentored me and coached me over the years have been the same way. And you always want them to get better than you.
I can imagine that be like the best, you know, I just from my side of things, like if I had a coach who was unwilling to teach me and was not willing to teach me, if I went to Derek or Andrew, I was like, hey, I'm getting stuck in S-mount, what do I do? And they're like, well, I'm not going to tell you. It's like,
or they show you like one thing and don't explain it and break it down.
And it's like, well, why would I, you know, even just from a business perspective, like you want your students to get better. And like,
and I know some gyms, it's like an ego thing. Like,
that's so weird.
It's so like weird. They always, and it's the gyms that want you to call them master.
Oh God.
And it's stuff like that. And
coaches
it's like,
as far as I go.
Coaches
as far as we're going.
Yeah, this is, you know, when I was a kid and did karate, it was like, bow to your sensei. You know, and it's like, you're a kid, it's whatever.
All right.
But now, and you know, ever since I've had my own school, it's always been coach. And it's just, and even then it's like, coach here, but the minute I go over there, it's like, James is okay. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not that formal. And none of us are, and I've been fortunate enough not to have to deal with it, but I have traveled over the years, and I have visited schools, and there's some schools that are like hard,
really
core.
Wow, that's so weird. This is my only gym I've ever gone to, so only from reference I got.
You know, I highly encourage you, if you have travels and everything, drop into a gym. You know, and there is etiquette, like, hey, just reach, don't just show up and be like, hey, I'm here to train, you know what I mean? But just you know, reach out, do their waiver and all that. Ask about mat fees. Always offer to pay mat fees. Don't just be like, hey, I'm dropping
in. Trial day.
Don't do that.
That's weird.
Or if they don't have mat fees, at least buy a shirt. You know what I mean? I do that.
Support them in some kind of.
I'm real weird. Like I only wear like our shirts, or
fair.
Like, you know, Sarah and I have the 1845 company and the Jiu-Jitsu culture.
That's a plug. Put the bug
so
right here.
I usually, the only t-shirts I'll ever wear are ours or the school.
There you go.
School t-shirts. Like, I do have other shirts that I keep as like old fight shirts or something.
Okay.
But I don't wear. I don't know that I've worn in the last 2 years another shirt.
There you go.
You know, and it's just, that's just me. And I was in California and same thing, popped into a school. You know, I was a black belt. I reached out to him. I actually stopped in. I was like, hey, introduce myself, and, you know, hey, is it cool if I drop in? And you know, what's the mat fee? Oh, we don't charge black belts. Okay, cool. I went in that night and then I bought a shirt.
There you go.
I gave it to my brother-in-law. I'm like, here you go. He does jiu-jitsu too. I'm like, he's like, oh, cool, thanks, man. Nice. You know, so it's like, but I'm just weird about that. That's me. But how do you feel jiu-jitsu has helped you in your personal or professional life?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I feel like there's I think there's like I don't know, it's handling like stressful challenges. It's not as bad. Like, to give some context, I deal with really bad anxiety. I've my entire life, and getting the crap kicked out of me here has helped that anxiety tremendously in a lot of different aspects.
That's awesome.
It really has. It used to be really hard even just to show up. 'Cause I would sometimes drive to the class and I have to park in a parking lot, just wait for my hand to stop shaking before I can come in here because I was so afraid of being here. Thankfully, it's not like that anymore. I feel very comfortable here. But doing this has helped in that aspect, but also in like decision making, where it's like, oh man, I've got a stressful deadline. It's like, I'm okay. Like, you know what I mean? The worst thing that I've ever imagined that could happen has already physically happened. And so like approaching hard topics or like approaching confrontation, which I've always been adverse to confrontation entirely. Now I'm like, okay, I can emotionally handle it. I'm okay. So in that aspect, I've seen very drastic, like, I'm able to handle a lot more than I did previously, and I absolutely accredit it to doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah,
100%.
I do too. And in my private and personal life, I get told all the time, oh, you're so quiet, oh, you're so laid back, and I'm like, nothing bothers me because
I really understand.
You know, and prior to a couple of injuries, like whenever I was doing MMA and sparring and coaching and everything.
You did do MMA.
And so it's like when you come in here and you have killers trying to punch your face in, slam you into the mat, choke you out, it's like there is no situation in a professional environment.
There really is
that's going to be like, what are you going to do to me? Tell me no.
Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. What am I going to do? Yeah.
And it's like, and when you relax, and it's like, you know, and the one thing that, you know, that I think jiu-jitsu helps professionals and people, maybe people with, I don't know necessarily with anxiety, but maybe some social issues, is being comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. Yes. Because if you can get comfortable with me inside, cross side or mount, like pressuring you and just like, and you're going like, please just like finish this, just put me out of my misery, and I'm just like, no, this is my goal. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you can handle that kind of pressure, you walk into a room and you don't know people, like that pressure is like, oh, it's not that big of a deal.
It's really not.
They're not going to do that. And then also for like it, like I've had roles and things where it's like you have to be a critical thinker, and you have to think. Not only you have to make semi-quick decisions, but you have to have foresight, and you need to like problem solve. And I always say like going into situations that for me professionally or personally, I've learned it from jiu-jitsu specifically. I've learned how to, there's like a conversation diagram. Matt, you've seen those?
Oh yeah.
So like if you take that, how a conversation can go, like well, if they say this, do that. I've learned how to, and I've never been a good student. My English and grammar is horrible. Thank God for autocorrect, and now Chat GPT. I sound like a genius. But it's like, it's like, but that critical thinking and decision making, it's like I can run scenarios down and it happens so fast that I really don't get the anxiety over it, because it's like, okay, boom, 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 boom. And I always try, just like in jiu-jitsu, I always think like, if I go for this, what's the worst that's going to happen? And the longer you do this, the quicker you map out the worst case scenario if you go for that. And the quicker you make decisions and react, the quicker you're going to progress in jiu-jitsu, because you can survive longer. The longer you survive, the more you stay in the fight, the more you can fight, and the more you learn to fight. So like if you learn how to, you know, figure out like, okay, what's the worst this can happen? Boom, you run down those scenarios. Well, if you do that same thing in a professional environment, either in a conversation or in a situation like, hey, I got to go do this. What's going to happen? What's the worst? And you learn how to get to the bottom of that hole faster. And once you know the worst possible outcome, if you're like, well, I'm not going to die. You know, okay, so then I start working backwards. I get to the bottom. For me personally, like I'll get to the bottom, to the worst, and then I'll backtrack up. And it's like, it's not that bad.
That wasn't nearly as bad as I was expecting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know people, and I talk to people, and they spiral. and they can't get to the bottom because they stay in that.
Stuck in a loop.
They're stuck in that loop.
Absolutely.
Well, what about this and what about this? And it's like, no, you're trying to stay up here where everything's good. Get to the bad. Get to the worst possible place. Figure out how you get to that worst possible place. Like, I always go bad decision, bad decision, bad decision, bad decision. Okay, boom. What was that last bad decision?
Yeah.
All right, I don't make that. If I don't make that, where am I here? And then
you avoid all that falling down the steps.
All that up, and it took me a long time to figure that out and like credit that to, I solely credit to Jiu-Jitsu, and because of this, I've been successful professionally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's like, and that's, one of the great things I like about Jiu-Jitsu.
Because I've experienced that in other aspects professionally with like handling like mental stress and like criticism and like I think like professional decisions in that way. I totally relate with that, with like what I've done with like acting and stuff. The worst thing that anyone could have said to me, someone's already said to me at this point. So I'm like, someone can say pretty much whatever, and I don't really care. Getting the physical aspect of it, of like, oh no, this is what someone could really beat the living hell out of you.
Yeah. Even
coming close to facing that was, I think, really has been, and it still is. It's like, that's really scary thought, and I think that's a good reason to train for me, and it's certainly a piece of the pie. It's not the whole part of self-defense, but getting exposed to that, and that's been good, really, really good for me. That's really been good for me.
Yeah, and I see people in Jiu-Jitsu, and I'll be rolling, if I'm rolling with somebody who's a little newer and I'm trying to help them out, work or whatever, and I'll see them and I'm like, man, this opportunity's here. I know they know this, and they don't take it, and they hesitate, and I'll ask them, after class or at the end of the round, like, man, I thought you were going to go for this. Why didn't you? Like, well, I was afraid if I did this, you were going to do that, then this would happen, and then I'd get choked out. And I go, yeah, but what would have happened if you'd have
if you just did it?
What if you just did it and you got it?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't think I could. So they get stuck in that anxiety, and they get stuck in that, like, well, I don't want to move or make a decision because I'm afraid of that first bad result.
Right.
Versus going, okay, what's the worst that can happen? If I go for this, if I'm on mount and I go for this armbar, I'm giving up mount. They're gonna, let's say they stack me, and they pull the arm out. Well, then they're on top of me. I don't want them on top of me. But you're not thinking like, hey, I'm in your guard.
Right.
You can start controlling posture. You can start working sweeps, guard from, submissions from the bottom. And it's like they get stuck, and that's what I was talking about. They get stuck in that first bad decision, and they're like, how do I, I got to get better at attacking, and it's like, no, you don't. You just got to get better at doing.
Yeah.
Doing, and
I relate to that. I definitely relate to that. Yeah.
And then from a new, white belt, newer perspective, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, and I don't even know how many times I've been asked this. What would you tell somebody who is on the fence about trying jiu-jitsu because they're not in shape?
Oh man, I like, that's a really good question. I think that to get, and I've seen it because I've experienced it, to get in jiu-jitsu shape, you have to do jiu-jitsu. And if you just go in and try, there will be people that are willing to work with you. And I didn't know, I didn't understand first starting out, but like you mentioned, there are some people that just because you're new and it's not personal, they're not going to want to roll with you right away. They really, it's for everybody's safety.
Yeah. But they will
eventually.
And they will drill.
Yeah, they'll drill and work with you.
And they'll do technique. They'll do specifics and situational. But full speed sparring rounds.
We got to get some time.
Let's clarify.
First. Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I don't drill or do technique.
No, for sure, yeah.
We drill and do technique with everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because I can't say it enough. People can't say it enough, because there is nothing you can do in a gym, in a weightlifting gym, that will prepare you for jiu-jitsu.
You really can.
The only thing I would say is maybe run and get your heart rate up.
Cardio, maybe.
You know what I mean? But there's nothing. I've had weightlifters, CrossFitters, bodybuilders, every physical aspect, and come in here in the best shape and they gas out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In under a minute, because
it's a different kind of, I don't know what
you
it is.
have
It's
the
a different kind of
you have the
working.
anxiety,
Yeah.
you have
Oh,
the
yeah.
adrenaline, and then you have the controlling your breathing, controlling your heart rate, being comfortable, knowing when to conserve energy, when to exert energy, and things like that. Like, there's nothing like that. And the physical part of me, 220,
Like 225, 220
yeah.
somewhere in there.
So like, I'm trying to move 225 pounds in a manner that doesn't want to be moved in that manner. And then they're also trying to resist.
Yeah.
So there's that anaerobic, that constant pressure. And it's like, there's nothing you can do in a gym that will get you prepared for this other than doing this, so.
That's very true.
So I always tell people, just get in jiu-jitsu shape, do jiu-jitsu, and then if you want to incorporate strength training as an addition, then do it. Because I believe, especially getting older, I'll do like bro sesh workouts, and I don't do it to lose weight or get big or anything. I literally just do it to maintain my muscle volume.
And strengthen the everything, yeah.
Strength,
Absolutely.
muscle will support the joints and the tendons and everything, but not just that. But for me, it's like muscle density and volume.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose what I have as I get older. But it's like that, and then for the overall health of it, and then you get younger guys that, like, they start doing jiu-jitsu, like yourself, you start losing weight, and then it's like, okay, I'm at my good weight, I'm not losing any weight, I got good cardio. It's like, maybe I want to pick up my strength a little bit. Then you do it, and then you're like, oh my God, I can't stop Ty. Like, he's like, I'm watching him, like, just grab my arm and move it. I'm like, what is going on, So there's that part of it. That's great.
It was to touch on that. Like, I would go to, and this is all in that very early stage before I was going to like night classes, really, besides fundamentals. I would talk to Jeremy and Derek, and I'd be like, man, my elbows are killing me. I don't know what to do. And they're like, well, if you start doing just basic exercises, even just a little bit, push-ups, sit-ups, like, it will strengthen everything, and that'll hurt less, and you're able to give and take more. And I was like, and then I did it, and I'm like, wow, that really did work. Like, that decreased pain significantly, and I'm like able to kind of work with it a little bit better. I was like, all right, there's something to it. There's something to it, I think.
Yeah, I got you. Well, I think I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. I'm happy to do it.
This is fun. And it was good to finally get to start rolling with you. And I appreciate the time. And welcome to the club, I guess. The Jiu-Jitsu club, man. Well, I appreciate it,
Thank you, sir. Absolutely.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.